Hi, I'm Amelia.
I'm Tolly.
I'm Keenan.
I'm Laura.
And I'm Riley. Welcome to the Millennial Versus Anniversary Special. Today, the MV team will be recapping the past 2 years working together on creating the podcast you know and love. We hope you enjoy and look forward to another 2 years. What efforts are you making to address the differences between Generation Z, Millennials, and Generation X perspectives?
I'm a menace, so I'm probably not doing a whole lot to, I used to be really heavily involved in nonprofit work, and I feel like I burnt myself out, doing a lot of things like that in the moment, I feel like it felt very helpful. But what's helpful and what connects people is meeting people where they are, and I don't know, being yourself, being present, being centered, and meeting people where they are. So that's what I'm doing. Yeah.
So originally gas between Generation X and Generation Z. For me as a millennial with X conversations, it's like connecting those those kitchen table conversations that we have with our grandparents, we have with our mom, the conversations that we don't necessarily feel like we can share with others. Letting them know that we're having these honest conversations with a group of trusting friends on a podcast, and then just be on a podcast connected to Generation Z. It's Generation Z loves digital media. That's all I feel like they absorb is through YouTube, podcasts. Now it's putting our voices out there on the platform to let them know that these conversations are okay to have, and you don't necessarily have to have them at the table with a sacred family dinner or meal. They can really put them out there as we don't know who's going to listen to them. I believe Keenan said we can listen to over 50 countries just worldwide. I didn't know that was going to happen. So just knowing that, bridging those conversations between X, play stays at home, now let's see, it's we can spread this worldwide. So that's how I'm trying to bridge gaps, just sharing voice.
One thing that I've realized is that I think while our platform that we have is amazing and being able to reach, I believe we're in 60 plus countries right now. Being able to reach the masses is really cool, but how you live your everyday life is what really matters. So it's about applying the conversations that we have when learning and gaining new information. I mean, Laura, Tolly, and Amelia have taught me so much these past 2 years. So to be able to take what I've learned from them and now say in any given situation, be oh, well, maybe I should adapt. I used to handle things like this. I should have handled them like this now. So, again, it's just about everyday practice and understanding, using empathy. I think in our mission statement, we say understanding and acceptance. So I think not just having a conversation or saying it, but truly living it.
I think just generally having a conversation about topics that we think are important and relevant in our society, hearing our perspective and also being open to hearing each other's perspective, even though most of us are on either millennials, Gen Zs, or on the cusp of that. I think it's interesting to hear how different we are between each other. I think a lot of the times we can be similar, but we come from different viewpoints and different angles and different experiences. Especially with our Gen Talk series, I think it's really interesting having different generations hear our podcast and then discuss it, how they would view things differently, or even, I think one of my favorite Gen Z talks was when we talked about toxic work culture and hearing their perspective of what it was like to be women during a period that they grew up and how it's very different to mine. I don't think I've ever had a conversation with someone that age of what it was like for them to be in their early 20s or 30s and what opportunities they had. So I think I'm also hearing other people's perspectives, and it's informing me and helping me be a better person.
Why did you initially say yes to being on Millennial Versus?
So I was actually introduced to Keenan through my friend John, who's amazing, and I just had a feeling about Keenan whenever John and it's kind of funny because John and I have known each other for years, but over the past 2 years, I feel like I've gotten really close with Keenan, and you wouldn't believe that none of us knew each other before we started doing this. But yeah, wild.
What was it? 2 years ago, yeah, Keenan asked me to be on Millennial Versus, and why did I say yes initially? Because as an introvert, I'm sure you guys heard the episode, I'm a fairly reserved person, so saying yes was tough because I was am I lit up with my voice out here? So some rando, you're going to listen to me? And I was all right. So why yes is just to put my voice out there and be a part of the next platform, next wave for our generations, for millennials to Z, knowing that hey, like there is a real voice out there or a trusted voice. And the idea what Keenan wants to do is just bridge those conversations. There's an opportunity to just try.
So a lot of people don't know the story behind Millennial Versus, but for me, through the pandemic, I think there was so much going on with the Black Lives Matter movement at the time and elections, things like that, and having so many conversations with family members that I have that are of different generations and just hearing their perspectives, and I'm just like, what? Like I don't even understand how you're coming to this conclusion. Or I guess more conservative family members as well. It really made me think like, okay, well, they have this conclusion. What made them formulate this opinion that they have? I got a degree in psychology, so for me, it's all about like knowing things behind the meaning and the why. I always question the why. So I think having a conversation with like-minded people was super important, just to say like, oh, these are people who are like me or maybe my age, but we all think different. Depending on the topic, we are very different. So it was really conversations that I had with some of the older generation, some of the younger, and seeing how different we were. But I wanted to bring that into how we're the same, if that makes sense.
I said yes to being on Millennial Versus because Keenan and I have a long history, and I think we've always wanted to have some type of platform, I guess. But specifically, I've enjoyed the conversations that we have. I think that the two of us have challenged each other in the best ways. When I said yes to Millennial Versus, I didn't know Amelia and Tolly, but I'm very happy to work with them and to have this podcast with them. And again, I think all of our perspectives and experiences are different. So it's nice to have those conversations and hear what everybody has to say, whether it's different or similar.
Why do you continue to say yes to Millennial Versus?
Ooh, because I love it. And I am not the most open individual, don't really love sharing. And I feel like it really challenges me, not only to think critically about some of the topics that we talk about, but over the years, I've learned to push myself to open up, because that's where the good stuff is. You know, I feel like that little like emotional, you know, those little rants or I feel like that's true. You know, that's authentic, that's real. And like, they get that out of me. And I feel like I surprise myself sometimes, you know. It's like, did I mean that? I think I'm, you know, like, but yeah.
I mean, connecting to where it's just say yes. I'm still trying. I've learned over 2 years. I'm finding my own voice. I'm finding my own boundaries. I believe that Keenan said too. And it's like, why stop now? People are actually understanding what our brand is, what MV is, Millennial Versus. And it's like jumping off the boat too early, where it's going to keep going and I'm going to be part of it.
I think just seeing the impact that we've made has been really rewarding. And I'll say it this way. We had someone who was in Australia. This was probably like a year ago. And he had messaged Millennial Versus and was saying, thank you so much for your episode on cheating and forgiving. I was recently cheated on, and it really just helped me to be able to come to terms with everything and be able to move forward. So, and there's so many other messages that we've gotten. I'm just like, wow. So not only being able to reach my family or friends or people in our personal lives, but also reach the world, which is why I initially wanted to do this. I didn't think it was possible, but now that we've done it, it feels amazing. So just being able to put our voices out there as young millennials and just make the world a better place. I know that sounds cheesy, that sounds super corny, but it's true. Yeah.
I continue to say yes because I think the things that we talk about are important. I also think that the response that I've received from friends and family have been really great. The fact that we think these topics are important and then other people think that these topics are important, I think is really valuable. And yeah, I think just moving forward and having a group of like-minded people and just having these discussions, because I wouldn't have discussions like this probably in my everyday life. And being on this podcast has allowed me to have that opportunity and even like grow and hearing different reasons why people think certain things and different facts and different, I guess just experiences. This has been really nice, and I always want to feel like I'm growing and learning, and this podcast has definitely helped me with that.
Is Millennial Versus what you thought it would be?
It is and isn't, for sure. Because I was not a big podcast person before, big into music, you know. I wasn't sure what to think because I had been part of a lot of like live speaker series, so I understand the value, you know, of a good panel discussion. But this is different. It's a lot more informal. It's a lot more, I want to say, like, you have more opportunities to be a lot more truthful than other mediums, and I love that. So I feel like it both is and isn't what I thought it would be, but in a good way.
Yes and no. No, just because you never know what a creative project is when it starts from infancy, and that's just the idea and vision that Keenan had. You know, where something's gonna be real, it's gonna be possible, and just through the 2 years, everything adapts. We adapt as people, connecting with Amelia, Laura, Keenan. Like 2 years, as a lot happens. We know we're into 2022, fresh after that. So I know it's nothing what I initially thought it would be, but it's becoming a lot more, and I see a hell of a good pathway moving forward for the MV team.
Yes and no. It is better than I thought it was going to be, and it's also very difficult. Just being honest, it's a lot of work. I think a lot of people don't know how much time, effort, and energy goes into it from not only Laura, Tali, Amelia, and I, but we also have editors. We have social media coordinators, Jiraiya, Christina, literally everybody has been helping us. Josh, Brittany, it takes a village to be able to put this together. And even with all that, it just still feels so good to be able to have a team that supports you and have a team that says, I believe in you and your vision 2 years later when they could have walked away at any time and still can. And, you know, we get together, we brainstorm, and it's like, hey, like, this is working. Like, let's do this, or let's do more of this, or hey, this isn't working. Like, maybe we should adapt or change that. And being able to really just grow together and figure out what works, what doesn't, and making that Millennial Versus. The good and the bad, I feel like, is what makes us. So 2 years later, to still be here, to still be choosing the platform that we have with the impact we've made is just incredible.
Millennial Versus is that sounds bad. Millennial Versus is better than I thought it would be. I kind of felt like you're just going to be like a little ragtag group of friends who are just going to talk about topics. I think the professionalism that we've displayed has been amazing. I think Keenan's leadership has been good. I think it's experiencing Keenan in this form of his life has been very fun to watch. I'm very proud of him. And I've not expected it to be this amazing, and I'm very proud of us. I think we've grown a lot. I think it's weird things Keenan and I specifically have at some point edited podcast episodes, so we're very aware of our likes and our and in my day-to-day life, I'm definitely not aware of that. But during the podcast when we're recording, I try my best to think about what I'm going to say. So I think that's, weirdly enough, something that I would have never done, without this podcast. But yeah, it's nice seeing everybody grow, and I didn't expect to have the bonds that we have, and I'm excited again to see like what we move forward to become.
Where do you see Millennial Versus being a year from now?
I hope that we're still doing the same thing. I obviously, on another scale, I would hope. But I'm a homebody, so it's like if we always stay in Arkansas, I'm okay with that. I love it here. I was born in this hole, died in this hole. But yeah, I'm just really happy and like really content and enjoying the moment with my team. So I feel like, I don't know, can't even imagine what will be a year from now. But yeah.
In a year, this connects back to the first question of connecting the Generation Z. I really see us having a branded platform through digital media where everyone knows our brand, but not it's just a brand, it's a streamlined brand where they're saying like, okay, I know what they're saying and I know the story they're trying to tell, and really getting back to why they're just leading with this mission still. So a year, all our platforms, as I say on every episode, YouTube, Patreon, Instagram, Facebook, maybe Facebook still here, I don't know, but we'll see. Just we're gonna be everywhere a year.
I think TBD because I think we're on the precipice of change to a certain extent. I think us doing things like we have been, continuing to release on like Spotify, Apple, things like that, I think we'll still continue to do that, but expanding and growing. I would definitely want to do more in the visual space. I want to make sure that our Gen Talk series last year was incredible. If you guys haven't seen that, please check it out. It's on YouTube. But our Gen Talk series, I think, was us really being able to apply the things that we've been talking about, because the conversation for such a long time was just the four of us. And then we were able to expand and say, oh, here are the other generations, here are the other perspectives that we've talked about ad nauseum, depending on the topic, and being able to come back soon and do that again is going to be really fun. And I think, again, sort of just understanding what works and what doesn't for content, we've really been able to make some really good adjustments, like knowing for which episodes who should be there. One of the things that we've talked about doing again is the cheating and forgiving episode, which is like our biggest and most popular episode. Even though we did that last year for our Gen Talk series, doing it again, but this time we're only going to have like Gen Xers and the older generation. Like, how would you navigate being cheated on? Because we have that conversation of like, is being cheated on now more popular? Is it happening more now? Or was it just sort of swept under the rug before? So just being able to do more of what we're doing now.
Well, lots of fun. No, I see us continuing to grow, continuing to mature, continuing to move as a business. I think that with growth comes growing pains, and so I'm curious to see what that looks like. But I'm just excited for us and to see where we move.
Thank you guys so much for being here with us 2 years later. It feels incredible. Hopefully to another 2 years and another 2 years and another 2 years and so on. So thank you guys again. We appreciate and love you guys. Until next time.